Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of College Town Talk. I'm Shan Stout.
And I'm Jonathan Frank.
Now, Jonathan, could you use a self esteem boost?
Always, Shan. What do you got for me?
Well, in that case, today's podcast will be of absolutely no help to you because these guests are going to make us both feel like underachievers. First, we're talking with the man, the myth, and the legend, Mark Burnett, Tennessee Tech's beloved former vice president for student affairs and the namesake for the Mark L. Burnett Student Recreation and Fitness Center. Now, Mark is also a three-time Tech graduate, the District 6 commissioner for the Tennessee Arts Commission. He's also a board member for Mustard Seed Ranch, a local nonprofit providing children with a safe home environment. And if that's not enough, he was a 2024 Cookeville Lifestyle Magazine Most Influential People honoree.
Yeah, Shan, not helpful for my self-esteem. We need to book less impressive guests. Who do I complain to?
I think that would be you. But you also won't be too happy about our other guest either, because then we're talking with Emily Armstrong. She's a Cookeville native, Tennessee Tech alumni, and current Tech graduate student who spent her summer, wait for it, photographing the Olympics in Paris, France. Could you ask for a better guest today?
I don't really see what the big deal is. I spent my summers in college working at Kroger. She was photographing the Olympics. It's basically the same thing.
Well, while Jonathan contemplates his life choices, we'll go ahead and get right into today's interviews. Up first, it's our conversation with former Tennessee Tech Vice President for Student Affairs, Mark Burnett.
Welcome back to College Town Talk. Our next guest is truly a living legend in Cookeville and at Tennessee Tech. But don't take my word for it. Just take a walk by the Student Recreation and Fitness Center that was named in his honor. Of course, we're talking about three-time Tennessee Tech graduate, Tennessee Tech Sports Hall of Famer, and the university's esteemed former Vice President for Student Affairs, Mark Burnett. Mark devoted 36 years of service to Tennessee Tech, including 28 as Vice President for Student Affairs before his well-deserved retirement at the end of 2019. But he never retired from helping others, whether it has been his work as a pastor, his role on the Tennessee Arts Commission, or his years of involvement with the local nonprofit Mustard Seed Ranch. Mark's legacy of generosity and service runs deep in Cookeville and beyond. Mark, welcome to College Town Talk.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Well, Mark, this is really an honor for us because you are such a giant in our community and especially on this campus. You were the VP for Student Affairs when I was a Tech student. And as we said in the introduction, 3 degrees from Tech, in the Sports Hall of Fame. You also scored the first point in the Hooper Eblen Center after it opened. And then you came here and worked for the better part of 40 years. And I was thinking about how you didn't have to do all that. You could have kind of stopped at any point. You didn't have to enroll at Tech. You didn't have to get your second or third degree here. You didn't have to come back to your alma mater to work or stay as long as you did. But you did all of those things. So what was it about Tennessee Tech that made you keep coming back to this place over so many years?
It was really interesting. When I first signed to come and play, to be a student athlete at Tennessee Tech, signed a basketball scholarship, I initially said I was not going here, and which is the irony of that after all these years is really amazing. But I was not going to sign, and my mom, who just passed a couple of weeks ago, she said, "You're going to Tennessee Tech." And I said, "Why would I go to Tennessee Tech?" She said, "It's a good school. You'll learn and you'll be somebody." Now, those were my mom's exact words. "You'll become somebody one day." The irony of that, because I was looking at other schools and thinking other things. And then I arrived here and immediately the feeling of warmth and welcome, I just took to it immediately because there was always someone who would help you no matter what was going on in your life, no matter what was happening. If you asked someone, they would help you. And I took that as a personal pledge for myself when I became an employee. I said, I'll just always be available, always be able to help someone, always be of service to someone. It just seemed that kind of place.
Well, Mark, moms always know best.
They do. they did. Bless her heart and rest her soul. She did. She knew exactly, and she did. And it was not a question. She said, "You're going to Tennessee Tech."
Well, good for her because your path has been a wonderful journey of success. Now, I'd like to say we know that you don't serve this community for attention or the accolades, but you've gotten a lot of both anyway, whether you wanted it or not. In 2021, the university named its new Student Recreation and Fitness Center in your honor, and that's a really big deal to have a facility named after you. Now, I'd like to kind of know the behind the scenes part of it. Two moments in time. First, tell us about the moment you found out the building was going to be named after you, and then the experience of being at the building's dedication with your family and your loved ones. And what was that like? How did that all feel? It had to be a little overwhelming.
It was, and it still is. Sometimes, if I just sit and think about it, it's still overwhelming. But Dr. Odom and his wife Carrie invited my wife and I to dinner at Nick's one evening, and I was wondering, well, okay, we're going to dinner. I've been retired for more than a year, so I know I'm not in trouble for anything. Why are we going to Nick's for dinner? And he literally handed me a letter, and it said that they were going to recommend to our board that the new fitness center be named after me. Now, I don't
Wow.
remember much after that. I know that I didn't eat, and I'm sure I cried. I cry on occasion, so I'm sure I cried. And that was it. I mean, that literally was it. And when they voted on it, another funny thing, I didn't think enough about it. I was in Florida on vacation with my kids when they called me. So I spoke to the board, and I'm sitting there in a t-shirt and shorts in Florida. So, and addressing it that way, which I would have dressed up and put on a tie and everything if I had known exactly. But it's very humbling. It's a very humbling thing. And I try to be mindful of being humble and accepting whatever it is that God gives you or asks you to do or whatever. And so it's still, I go almost every day to work out. And I don't think about it unless somebody brings it up or points to it. Many of the kids don't know me, so it doesn't happen very often. It'll happen occasionally. But on the dedication day, of course, my mom got to be here, and there's a picture. One of my favorite pictures is of she and I standing in front of the building, just she and I. And again, my mom's whole thing was being humble. It was like, this shouldn't go to your head or it shouldn't be anything like that. But when I actually did the acceptance and talked about it, I cried then too, because I was thinking, I'm just a little kid from Alcoa, Tennessee. I came to Tennessee Tech, to play ball, to get a degree, which my mom wanted more than anything else was for me to get a degree. She didn't care about all this other stuff. She didn't care if I scored 20 points against Alabama, that I scored the first points in the my mom cared about nothing. She would always ask how school was. Sometimes school was not so good. So, so the humbleness is kind of a family trait. We were always taught to be humble and be thankful to God for things that happen.
I love that story. And, I think that people who model humility are the ones that it's like those are the people that you most want to give honor to, and the people that deserve a building named after them. And so I love everything about that story. We've had, Mark, a number of successful leaders on this podcast before, and we always like to ask them about how they've made major decisions in their careers. We had Becky McGuire on, and she talked about making that decision to throw her hat in the ring to be CEO of Nashville Public Television, and leaving behind the familiarity of WCTE. And Amy New told us about being on the search committee for the Cookeville Putnam County Chamber's next CEO, and then thinking, hey, maybe I could do that, and moving her family, from Nashville to Putnam County for that job. So I want to ask you, how did you know in 2019 that it was the right time to retire from Tennessee Tech? And was that a hard decision for you?
It was a hard decision from the standpoint of thinking. I was thinking, okay, I'm not going to be around the students very much anymore. I've always had a heart for the students. The many meetings, the different things that we have to do with the legislature and all those things, I liked a whole lot less. But meeting with the students just day to day, having your office open, being available, going to the gym and sitting with a kid, and saying, well, he won't come to my office, so I'll go to the gym and sit, play ball with him, and then sit and talk to him, and those kind of things. The students have just always been my heart, still are. I mean, just service to students, to help them to do the next right thing, to make the next decision. Of course, for me, the decision to retire, praying about it and knowing, this part of my job was finished. I had reached a point; it was finished. I thought I had accomplished a number of things for the students that I wanted to. The fitness center was ironically the last thing, pretty much big thing on my plate, and to see that finished, I just had this feeling. I woke up one morning and said, "Well, it's kind of done. You can stay there. You can collect a check if you want. You can do all these different things. You can still be around the students." But I really felt like it's done. It's done. I'd done just about. I had given my all.
Well, I love the fact that you talk about how you got on a student's level and you even hunted them down if necessary to be able to get them to engage
in
with
the
you.
Cafeteria or anywhere. I would go find them because it could be intimidating for a kid to come to your office. You're sitting there and you got this big office and you're in a suit and tie and all those things. So sometimes I realize I've got to be in their environment sometimes, or whether it's in the dorm or whatever, and just sit and talk to them. I mean, they're searching, they're looking, they're wanting to do well, they're wanting to be good people. I think they're all wanting to be good people, and if you can impact that, I think that's the reward. Is if I can have an impact on that.
Well, that's dedication, and I think it's important. I think we all have had those mentors in our life that gave a little extra and believed in you so that you could believe in yourself.
Yes,
And
yes.
that really holds a lot of weight. I think you can usually name on 1, 2, or 3 fingers the people that have caused that kind of impact. And so that means a lot to me. But now, Mark, apart from all the impact you've had at Tennessee Tech, one of your greatest local passions has been Mustard Seed Ranch. And for our listeners who may not know, I can't imagine, but it is a wonderful nonprofit that provides loving home environments to children who are either abused, neglected, or orphaned, or all of the above.
Right.
So you previously served as their director of development, and you continue to serve on as a leadership position on their board.
Yes.
So what was it about the mission of Mustard Seed Ranch that made you want to get involved? Because that's an active role that you have there.
Well, the biggest thing was just serving underprivileged kids or underserved kids. Growing up as one for a number of years in East Tennessee, I could understand some of the issues that they were having, things that were going on in their home. When Tammy Hogan approached me, I told her, I said, I don't need a position to go out particularly and raise money only, or to be sit on a committee and chit chat all day or whatever you need to do. I said, I have to be involved directly with them. Because again, they need a little bit more of a hand up, not a handout, but a little bit more of a hand up in order to make it in society. And I know directly what that's like and how important a mentor, how important it is for somebody who really understands where they're coming from to be a part of that. And believe you me, I truly understand a great deal of it. And that's the only reason I'm involved today is if I can help just one child, if I can help one to go from their circumstance to a better circumstance to where they can help themselves. And I believe that they turn around and help someone else. I really believe that.
Wow. I appreciate what you do in service to our community, because even impacting one person can make all the difference to that person, and you don't know what they'll go on to do.
You have no idea. I look at it's the only time I look at myself in the mirror and I go, how did all this happen? Because I was not expecting it, but there was always somebody in my path who would help me make the next right turn. And believe you me, I made a few wrong ones. That goes without saying, but there was always somebody who said, hold on, wait a minute. There's a better way to do this. You're better than that. Or there was always something that somebody would say that would steer me back to where I needed to be. I give God most of all the credit for that, but he always sent somebody. And I believe in being sent to people and helping them, no matter who they are, where they come from, what's going on. I just think we all should do that.
Well, I love your heart of ministry and service. And I know that your mom is smiling down and she's so proud of all that you continue to do. Now, as we said in the introduction, you were named 2024 Cookeville Lifestyle's Most Influential People honoree. And our good friend Andrew Buckner wrote a very moving profile of you, which reads in part, and I'm quoting here, Mark Burnett has and continues to use his standing in the community and influence to elevate those whose paths cross his own. And I think that's what this interview has been about today. It goes on to add, Cookeville, Tennessee is a more beautiful place because Mark Burnett is here. And that was really my favorite line of the whole article. What did that honor mean to you? And what did your family say when they found out you were a most influential person?
Well, it's really interesting. My family, some of them they kind of poke at you and laugh. And my mom had an interesting sense of humor. So when she first saw it, when she was here, and she was actually in a nursing home when she saw it, and she said, "Well, Mr. Mark Burnett." And I knew she was kind of poking at me a little bit of fun at me for that. Again, keeping you humble, keeping you humble. Again, these things come at you. When they first called, I was like, I don't know about this. I had not seen the magazine.
Oh my goodness! So this was all news to you. You didn't know.
Old. It was brand new, and I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know what I'm going to have to do. I don't know how I'm going to have to do it. I was a nervous wreck, to be honest with you, about doing the photo shoot and everything. I was a nervous wreck, and the young lady told me, she said, "Well, just relax, and it'll be over in a few minutes, and it'll be okay, and it'll be a good article and all that." And I said,
"She made it sound like a doctor's visit. It'll be fine."
Yeah, she kept saying it'll be fine, and I was like, I said, "Do I look like?" She said, "Relax your face, relax your face."
Here's a lollipop. It'll all work out.
I was so tense. She kept saying, "Relax your face, relax your face," and I said, "I'm just so nervous, and this is not me. This is really kind of not me." So that was the feeling I had.
It was a very well-deserved honor. It was a great piece that Andrew Buckner wrote, and of course, you were in good company with Shan. Both were in good company.
I'm in high cotton now.
Well, but Mark, we like to end each interview with the same question on the show. We've asked every guest the same question to end the interview. That is, what is one way that Tennessee Tech has impacted your life?
I haven't been asked that in a long time. Again, the people impacted me. We're living in a time right now where there's such division on racial lines and socioeconomic lines and all of these things. It seemed to be a community, and a community that anybody could fit in. I know it's still a predominantly white university, et cetera, but I worked really hard to bring students of color here and everything, because I said it's an environment where anyone can thrive. It did that for me as a young man coming from East Tennessee who had no expectations, just to come and try to fit in. You could fit, and that just, it made a permanent stamp on my heart that we should always be trying to get people here because they can fit, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, because that was the impact it had on me. I was not an outsider. I felt like immediately I was on the inside, and that I was being taken care of, and things were good, and I could make it. If I wanted to make it, I could make it. I could do whatever I wanted to do. I think we should always be conveying that feeling, and I think Tennessee Tech conveys that. If you want to come and be a part of something that's really enriching and that your future will be assured pretty much, it's up to you, then you can do that here. And that's the way I feel about, not only about Tech, but I feel that way about Cookeville. And again, with everything else that's going on in the world, I think there are safe havens for people who want to make it, who want to strive, who want to be of service. I think these are places that can occur.
Well, I agree with you. I really believe that, and I think that is true because of people like you and the investment that you've made and the way you've contributed to Cookeville and Tennessee Tech. So, Mark, thank you so much for being our guest today on College Town Talk.
Well, it's a pleasure meeting you. And if I can do anything else, you just holler at me. Just give me a call.
Welcome back to College Town Talk. Now, while most of us watched the 2024 Olympic Games from our couches, one Cookeville native and Tennessee Tech graduate student got to experience the event up close and personal as a credentialed photographer. Now, her name is Emily Armstrong, and if you know her at all, you won't be the least bit surprised by her success and good fortune. I am so impressed with all that she's accomplished. Emily graduated magna cum laude from Tech's College of Business in 2024, and she's also a current MBA candidate, but that's not all. There's more. Emily is also an accomplished photographer whose camera skills landed her a previous role as a student worker in Tech's Office of Communications and Marketing. But throughout high school, she also competed in archery and went on to photograph events for the National Field Archery Association and World Archery, the sport's international governing body, and the list goes on. So wait for this. Those roles helped her land her most exciting photography gig yet, photographing archery events at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France. Emily, welcome to College Town Talk.
Hi, thank you for having me on here today.
Now, Emily, you're going to have to help me understand here because it's really not fair for one person to have all this talent and opportunity. You're a great student, you're an athlete, you're a photographer, but talk with us first about how you got started in photography. What sparked that interest?
Okay, so I think I started photographing when I was about 16 years old. So at that point, I was competing in archery on the national scale, and I drew inspiration from other people who just took really nice pictures of their bow. And I was a nerd, so I thought that was cool. So I just started doing that with my dad's Canon 70D and my little bow. Started doing that and really just got into it, and it just kind of evolved into more. I started doing content creation for different companies, so they would send me equipment and I would take photos and content with it. So that's kind of how I got started with the whole photography thing.
Emily, I want to ask you about the experience of being in Paris at the Olympics. Can you kind of take us behind the scenes of your day to day there? Did you have any celebrity encounters? Did you do any sightseeing? Did you have any really amazing croissants? Give us the scoop.
Okay, so my day to day, every day we were given our schedules of what they wanted us to cover. So we'd wake up. Normally, I'd get breakfast at the hotel, or I would go to the Korean grocers that was really close to my hotel. So I'd grab some lunch from there and get my breakfast. And then I would hop on one of the, like the little electric Lime bikes. So I would hop on one of those to bike my way over to the venue because the subway was a 40-minute ride and walking would have been an hour. So I would go pedal my way over there, and then I would normally help out the social media team for content. So we would communicate on WhatsApp, and they're like, "Hey, Emily, we want a picture of this person for this story. Can you get some cool creative shots of that?" The other job they had me doing was a lot of just more of the creative behind the scenes. So, yeah, so that was super cool. Celebrity encounters. I believe Princess Anne was there on the venue when I was there, but I didn't meet her, but some of my coworkers met her. There would be a lot of very interesting people in the VIP booth, so I would take photos of that. The food was amazing. You could just go walk around anywhere. You could get a wonderful croissant and a cappuccino. So that was really cool. So yeah, that was kind of my day.
So, Emily, I know that students who are listening who maybe have similar interests to you or are currently overlapping in fields where this opportunity evolved, how were you invited to go to the Olympics? Because I think that would be a question that our listeners would want to know.
Okay, to be fair, I got really lucky. Archery is a very small sport, so I think if you're doing media in archery, you're going to be known in that sphere. So I ended up getting connected with World Archery because I think I was competing in a tournament in Vegas when I was 17, and no, I was actually 16 at that point, and the main World Archery photographer was having a seminar on photography, and I decided to go. And I just went up to him afterward and asked him if I could shadow him, and he was kind enough to say yes. And that's kind of how I got acquainted with World Archery, and then they started bringing me out to do jobs for them, and that's kind of how getting asked to do the Olympics evolved.
Well, that's amazing. And I'm sure that was an unforgettable experience. I'm living vicariously through you now. Now, Emily, you're obviously a fan of Tennessee Tech's College of Business because you're now finishing up your second degree from there and you're currently working with them as a graduate assistant. Why was Tennessee Tech and the College of Business specifically the right fit for you?
The College of Business was a right fit for me because they offered programs that I was very interested in. So back when I was a freshman, I decided to originally start with marketing because I was thinking, oh, photography, marketing, I think that would go very hand in hand together. And as my school progressed, I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe I'll do another major as well. So I added the analytics major to my course load, and I feel like that was a really cool experience because marketing is kind of more of a social science from what I understand it to be. And so I feel like the analytics really helped me have a bit more of a quantitative perspective on that. And I feel like the College of Business offers strong programs on both of those topics. So yeah, that's why I thought it was fit for me. And I feel like everyone has been very personable and helpful. So yeah, that's why I'm with College of Business.
For our listeners who don't know, the Office of Communications and Marketing and the College of Business are sharing the same space right now in Foundation Hall. And so we see faculty and staff and students from the college all the time. And I'm always talking to Cheryl Montgomery and other people in the college that are just saying really how proud they are of your contributions and everything you're doing in your studies, but then also being a graduate assistant and really being of help to the faculty and staff in the college. You're such an asset there, and you've had a lot of success already in your studies and in your career. But as you finish up your MBA, I'm sure you're already getting questions about what's next. So after you walk across the stage at commencement later this year, what does the future look like for you?
That's a very good question. Right now, I'm exploring all my different career options. So I've been looking into business consulting. I've been looking into photography for other universities and other sports teams. So right now, I'm kind of in the interview phase for my next steps. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, the world is your oyster, and we know that you're going to be doing great things in the future. You've already done great things in the present. Now, Emily, at the end of each interview, we always like to ask the same question. So here we go. What is one way that Tennessee Tech has impacted your life?
I would say Tennessee Tech has really impacted my life in such a great way, because I feel like since we're a slightly smaller school, you really get to know your peers and your mentors personally. And I feel like I am the accumulation of a lot of different people who invested in me. So yeah, I think that's how Tennessee Tech impacted me.
Well, Emily, thanks so much for being our guest today on College Town Talk.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was so fun.
We want to thank Mark Burnett and Emily Armstrong for being our guests today on College Town Talk.
And thanks to all of you for listening. While you're here, would you do us a quick favor? Hit that subscribe button, leave us a positive review, and share this podcast with a friend. It all helps to spread the word about the great things happening right here in Cookeville.
We'll meet you back here again next week for more conversations with the people who make Cookeville, Tennessee's college town. College Town Talk is presented by Tennessee Tech University in partnership with the Cookeville-Putnam County Visitors Bureau. Your hosts are Jonathan Frank and Shan Stout, and original music is performed by Andrew Buckner. Visit us online at tntech.edu/collegetowntalk.